The stars above Earth dimmed as massive alien ships positioned themselves between the planet and the sun. Admiral Kithmel stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the blue world slowly fade into twilight. His 4 eyes studied the data, streams flowing across holographic displays, and his mandibles clicked with satisfaction. "Another simple conquest," he murmured to his tactical officer. The Veltharian collective had done this 47 times before across 3 spiral arms of the galaxy. The pattern was always the same. First, they studied the target species from a safe distance. Then they identified their deepest fears. Finally, they exploited those fears until the aliens begged for mercy. It worked on every intelligent race they had encountered. Humans were no different. In fact, they might be easier than most. Commander. Zethka pulled up the xenobiological report on his personal display. "The psychological profile is complete, Admiral. Classic photophilic prey species. They huddle together in bright cities during darkness hours. They flee underground or inside structures when their star sets. Their entire civilization revolves around creating artificial light." Kithmil's mandibles spread in what passed for a smile among his kind. "Fear of darkness. How predictable. Begin Standard Protocol 7. The orbital platforms came online with a low hum that vibrated through the flagship's hull. Massive reflective shields unfolded like metal flowers, each one the size of a small moon. Within minutes, they had positioned themselves to block most of the sunlight reaching Earth's surface. "Psychological bombardment commencing," reported the weapons officer. "Estimated time to surrender, 72 hours. On Earth's surface, emergency sirens wailed across every major city. In Seoul, Lieutenant Dae-hyun Kim watched the sky grow dark from his position in the military command center, buried deep beneath the city. His radio crackled with incoming reports from bases around the world. "Beijing confirms artificial eclipse. Moscow reports complete solar blockage. Washington acknowledges protocol nightfall activation." Kim smiled grimly as he adjusted his night vision goggles. The aliens had made their first mistake. They thought darkness was humanity's weakness. "Colonel Minho?" Park's voice echoed through the underground bunker system that connected military installations across the Korean peninsula. "All units, this is Deep Command. The enemy has just given us exactly what we needed. Switch to hunting protocols immediately." Above ground, Veltharian landing craft touched down in major cities worldwide. The aliens emerged in full combat gear, expecting to find panicked crowds fleeing in terror from the artificial twilight. Instead, they found empty streets and an eerie silence. Private Jethmer, of the 47th Veltharian Infantry Division, stepped out of his transport in what had once been downtown Seoul. His thermal sensors showed the city was still full of humans, but they had all retreated into buildings and underground areas. Exactly as predicted. "Easy conquest," he reported to his squad leader. "The prey animals are hiding as expected." What he didn't see was Lieutenant Kim and his reconnaissance team watching from a rooftop 3 blocks away. Through advanced night vision scopes, the humans studied every movement the aliens made. They noted weapons, armor weaknesses, communication patterns, and patrol routes. "Target acquired," whispered Sergeant Jinwoo Choi, Kim's sniper specialist. His finger rested lightly on the trigger of a rifle designed specifically for stealth operations. "Negative," Kim replied softly. "Let them settle in first. We hunt when they think they're safe." Across the city, similar scenes played out. Human military units had not retreated in fear. They had simply moved into their preferred fighting environment. Underground tunnels, darkened buildings, shadowy alleyways. These were not places of terror for humans. They were hunting grounds. Dr. Yoon Young-yu monitored alien communications from her laboratory, hidden beneath Seoul National University. The Veltharians were broadcasting on frequencies they assumed humans couldn't detect, reporting their initial success to the fleet above. Ground forces deployed successfully. Enemy population has retreated to defensive positions as predicted. No resistance encountered. Proceeding with Phase 2 psychological pressure tactics. She shook her head as she translated their messages. The aliens had studied human behavior, but they had completely misunderstood what they were seeing. Humans didn't gather around fires and build cities full of lights because they feared the dark. They did it because they were conserving energy for when darkness became an advantage. Admiral Kithmel received the reports from his ground commanders with growing confidence. Excellent. Begin Phase 2. Increase the shadow density and deploy the fear amplifiers. These humans will surrender within the day. More orbital platforms moved into position, making the artificial eclipse even darker. Strange devices began broadcasting subsonic frequencies, designed to trigger panic in most species. The Velf had used this combination successfully on dozens of worlds. But in the tunnels beneath Sol, Lieutenant Kim was receiving very different reports. Human forces worldwide were not breaking down. They were mobilizing. London reports ready for night operations. Tokyo confirms stealth units in position. New York acknowledges target acquisition on enemy positions. Kim checked his watch. The aliens had been on the ground for 6 hours, long enough to develop patrol patterns and establish temporary bases, long enough to become predictable, long enough to become prey. He switched his radio to the general frequency used by all human resistance forces worldwide. All stations, this is Sol Base. The hunt begins in 60 minutes. Remember, they gave us the darkness. Now we show them how humans really use it. The response came back from dozens of cities across the planet. Not screams of terror or pleas for mercy, but something that would have chilled Veltharian blood if they had understood its meaning. Laughter. Cold, predatory laughter from creatures who had just been handed their greatest evolutionary advantage. The aliens thought they were fighting frightened prey animals. They had no idea they had just awakened the most successful hunters in Earth's history. Captain Sujin Lee moved through the darkened streets of Busan like a ghost. Her squad followed behind her, each step perfectly silent on the concrete. The artificial twilight that the aliens had created was supposed to terrify humans. Instead, it felt like coming home through her night vision goggles. She could see 3 Veltharian soldiers standing guard near their landing craft. They held strange glowing weapons that lit up their positions like beacons in the darkness. Their bioluminescent skin patches pulsed with nervous energy. Amateurs, whispered Sergeant Jinwoo Choi from his position on a nearby rooftop. His sniper rifle was already trained on the lead alien. They might as well be wearing neon signs. Lee raised her hand in a silent signal. Her squad froze in place, becoming invisible shadows against the buildings. They had practiced this movement 1,000 times in training exercises that the aliens knew nothing about. The Veltharians were talking to each other in their clicking language. Lee's translator picked up fragments of their conversation. They were complaining about the darkness, asking when they could return to their brightly lit ship. One of them kept looking over his shoulder at every small sound. Now, Lee breathed into her radio. Choi's rifle made almost no sound. The electromagnetic pulse round struck the first alien in the center of his chest. He dropped without a cry. Before his companions could react, 2 more silent shots dropped them as well. Lee's squad moved forward to secure the landing craft. In less than 3 minutes, they had eliminated the guards and disappeared back into the shadows with valuable alien technology 2,000 kilometers away. Commander Hyan Sunam guided his submarine through the crushing darkness of the deep Pacific Ocean. The Veltharian mining platform hung 2 kilometers above him, like a glowing jellyfish. The aliens had positioned it in what they thought was a safe location. Far from any human military base, they had forgotten that humans were the only species in the galaxy that had mastered deep ocean warfare. Sonar contact confirmed, reported. His weapons officer? Target is directly above us at depth marker 7. Nam smiled in the red light of his command center. The aliens had never encountered submarine warfare. They had no idea that death could rise from the ocean depths. Load torpedo tubes, 1 through 4. High explosive warheads. The torpedoes streaked upward through the black water like silver arrows. The first explosions lit up the ocean floor as the alien mining platform broke apart and sank into the abyss. In a hidden bunker beneath the ruins of Tokyo, Major Taemin Hong studied detailed maps of the city's subway system. His urban warfare specialists had been moving through the tunnels for hours, setting up ambush points at key locations. The aliens had established a command post in Shibuya Station, thinking the underground location would protect them from human airstrikes. They had no understanding that humans had built an entire hidden world beneath their cities. Team Alpha, report, Hung spoke quietly into his headset. In position at Tunnel Junction 7, came the reply. Enemy patrol approaching. From the East Corridor. Team Beta, ready at Maintenance Shaft 3. We can see their lights coming. Hung nodded. The aliens moved through the tunnels like tourists, using bright flashlights and making enough noise to wake the dead. They had no idea that human soldiers were watching their every move from hidden positions. Execute, he ordered. The ambush lasted less than 30 seconds. Shaped charges exploded beneath the alien patrol, followed by precise rifle fire from concealed positions. When the smoke cleared, the tunnel was empty except for scattered alien equipment. Before reinforcements could arrive, Hong's teams had vanished through maintenance shafts and emergency exits that the aliens didn't even know existed. High above the earth, Wing Commander Unikong piloted her stealth fighter through the absolute darkness of space. Her squadron had turned off all running lights and navigation beacons, becoming invisible to Valtharian sensors. The alien supply convoy moved in a predictable formation, their ships brightly lit and easy to track. They had never fought an enemy that could hide in the vacuum of space itself. Target acquired, Kong reported to her wingman. 3 supply ships, minimal escort. Her missiles struck before the aliens knew they were under attack. The convoy scattered in panic, but more human fighters emerged from the darkness, like hunting wolves. Within minutes, the entire supply train was destroyed, back on Earth. Dr. Yoon-young monitored the increasing panic in Valtharian communications. The confident reports from earlier had been replaced by frantic distress calls. Ground Team 7 not responding to contact attempts. Mining Platform 12 has gone silent. Supply Convoy Echo requesting immediate assistance. She translated. Another message that made her smile coldly. Unknown attackers using advanced stealth technology. Enemies appear and disappear at will, requesting tactical analysis of human capabilities. The aliens were finally beginning to understand that they had made a terrible mistake. But it was far too late. In Seoul, Lieutenant Dae-hyun Kim received reports from human units all across the planet. Every message brought news of successful attacks against alien positions. The darkness that was supposed to break human morale had instead made them nearly unstoppable. Busan reports 3 alien patrols eliminated. Tokyo confirms enemy command post destroyed. Orbital strikes successful against mining platforms. Kim switched to the frequency used by Valtharian ground forces. Their communications were no longer organized military reports. They were desperate pleas for help from soldiers who had suddenly realized they were not the hunters, they were the prey. And somewhere in the darkness, human laughter echoed through the night. Dr. Yoon-young, you sat across from the captured Valtharian scientist in the underground interrogation room. The alien's 4 eyes darted nervously around the dimly lit space, his bioluminescent patches flickering with fear. She placed a tablet on the metal table between them. You made a fundamental error in your analysis of human behavior, she said calmly through the translation device. The alien's mandibles clicked anxiously as her words were converted into his language. Your species fears darkness, he replied, his voice trembling. All civilized species fear darkness. It is universal law. You smiled and activated the tablet's display. A three-dimensional image of a human skull rotated slowly in the air above the device. Look at these eye sockets. What do you see? The alien leaned forward reluctantly. Forward-facing eyes. Like predators. Exactly. Not the side-mounted eyes of prey animals that need to watch for threats. Forward-facing eyes evolved for one purpose: tracking targets. She swiped to the next image. Enhanced hearing structures for detecting movement in darkness. Binocular vision for judging distances when stalking prey. The alien's patches dimmed to almost nothing. But your cities, ... all the lights. Conservation of energy, you explained patiently. We rest in the light so we can hunt in the dark. Your species made darkness our ally. You gave us our natural advantage. 300 meters above her head, Major Taemin Hong moved through the Prague subway tunnels with his urban warfare team. They had been underground for 6 days now, emerging only to strike at alien positions before melting back into the shadows. His soldiers communicated entirely through hand signals, moving with the fluid coordination that had made human pack hunters the most successful predators in Earth's history. They knew each other's positions without looking, anticipated each other's movements without speaking. The Valtharian patrol entered the tunnel junction, exactly as Hong had predicted. These aliens were creatures of habit, taking the same routes, at the same times. They moved with bright lights and heavy footsteps, announcing their presence to anyone within a kilometer. Hong raised his hand. His team froze in perfect silence, becoming invisible against the tunnel walls. 20 aliens passed within 3 meters of human soldiers they never saw. The attack came from 6 directions simultaneously. Grenades rolled across the tunnel floor. Rifle fire erupted from concealed positions. Smoke filled the underground space as humans struck and vanished like ghosts. When backup forces arrived 10 minutes later, they found only empty tunnels and dead silence. The human hunters had already moved to new positions, ready for the next ambush, in the black void between Earth and the Moon. Wing Commander Unikong drifted with her engines completely shut down. Her stealth fighter was invisible against the starfield, a patient predator waiting for prey to wander into range. The Valtharian supply ship approached on schedule, its hull blazing with navigation lights and energy signatures. The alien captain had no idea that death was floating silently in his path. Kang activated her targeting system and locked onto the ship's reactor core. Her finger hovered over the missile release button as she calculated the perfect intercept course. This was what humans had always done best: patient hunting followed by explosive violence. The missile struck before the aliens knew they were under attack. The supply ship broke apart in a brilliant flash that lit up the lunar surface for several seconds. Kong's fighter was already accelerating away, disappearing into the darkness before enemy sensors could locate her position. On Earth's surface, Major Soyoung Kim coordinated resistance activities from the expanding tunnel network beneath What had started as subway maintenance areas had become a vast underground city, housing millions of people. But these weren't refugees hiding in fear. These were predators, adapting their hunting grounds. Kim studied tactical displays, showing human positions across the globe. Red markers indicated active military units. Green showed secure underground bases. Blue represented supply lines that now stretched across continents through hidden tunnels. Report from Sector 7, her communications officer announced. 3 alien patrols eliminated in the last hour. No human casualties. Sector 12 reports successful sabotage of enemy communications array. Orbital strike team confirms destruction of 2 more Valtharian ships. Kim nodded with satisfaction. The aliens had expected humans to break under psychological pressure. Instead, they had unleashed the most effective killing machines evolution had ever produced. Her display chimed with an incoming message from the surface. Lieutenant Wu Jin, Lim's voice crackled through the speakers from his position near a Veltharian supply depot. Target is in sight. 12 guards, automated defenses, perimeter sensors. His voice was calm and professional. Beginning approach. Kim watched through Lim's helmet camera as he and his team moved through the industrial complex. They flowed around obstacles like water, using shadows and cover with instinctive skill. Motion sensors detected nothing. Thermal imaging showed only empty space. The humans reached the depot's main building without triggering a single alarm. They had moved with the patience of true apex predators, timing each step to guard rotations and sensor sweeps. Charges planted, Lim reported quietly, withdrawing to safe distance. The explosion lit up the night sky, destroying months of alien supplies in a single brilliant flash. By the time emergency responders arrived, Lim's team had vanished into the underground network. Dr. Yu looked up from her tablet as tremors from the distant explosion reached her. Interrogation room. The captured alien scientist stared at her with growing horror. "Your people called us primitive," she said softly. "You thought our lights and cities meant we were weak. But we never forgot what we really are." Outside in the corridor, human soldiers moved past the doorway in perfect silence, their eyes adapted to darkness, their movements coordinated by millions of years of hunting evolution. "We are apex predators," you continued, "and you just gave us the perfect environment to hunt." Admiral Kithmel's mandibles clicked frantically as he studied the tactical display aboard his flagship. Red warning lights bathed the command center in crimson shadows, while alarm sounds echoed through the corridors. His carefully planned conquest was falling apart. "Restore the daylight immediately," he ordered his engineering officer. "Deploy all available power to the orbital platforms." "Sir, we cannot," came the reply. "Human saboteurs have infiltrated Platform 7 and destroyed the primary control systems. Platform 12 went completely offline 6 hours ago. We believe enemy forces are aboard our vessels." The Admiral's four eyes widened in disbelief. "Impossible. How could primitive creatures penetrate our security?" His answer came in the form of Lieutenant Colonel Dongjun, who was at that very moment crawling through the ventilation shaft directly above the command center. And his special forces team had been moving through the ship's maintenance areas for 3 days, areas the light-dependent Veltharians never patrolled. The aliens had never considered that an enemy might use the dark spaces within their own vessels as highways for infiltration. Every ship in their fleet had extensive networks of service tunnels, emergency passages, and technical compartments that remained unguarded. Reached the predetermined position and carefully removed a ceiling panel. Through the small opening, he could see the alien command crew below, their glowing patches making them perfect targets in the darkness above. He activated his communication device and whispered into his throat microphone, "Phoenix team, in position above primary target, ready for insertion." "Dragon team confirms position in engineering section," came the reply from another part of the ship. "Eagle team has control of the armory," reported a third voice. Smiled grimly. While the aliens debated how to restore their artificial eclipse, humans had already seized control of their most important ship. "Execute simultaneous strike in 3.2.1. Mark." The special forces teams dropped through ceiling panels across the vessel like deadly rain. Stun grenades filled key compartments with blinding light and deafening sound. Within minutes, O's soldiers had captured the bridge, engineering, and weapons control. Admiral Kithmel found himself face to face with a human soldier who seemed to have materialized from thin air. The alien's hand shook as he stared into eyes that showed no mercy. "Your ship belongs to humanity now," O said quietly. On Earth's surface, the resistance had evolved beyond simple hit-and-run attacks. Major Soyoung Kim stood in the central command chamber of Neo-Tokyo's underground city, watching as her tactical display showed a network that now spanned entire continents. Tunnel systems connected major population centers across Asia. Similar networks existed beneath Europe and North America. Humanity had transformed the planet into a vast underground fortress where millions of people lived and worked in perfect darkness. But these weren't refugees hiding from the alien occupation. They were apex predators who had turned the entire world into their hunting ground. Status report from all sectors, Kim requested. Seoul confirmed successful capture of 3 more Veltharian ground vehicles, came the first reply. Beijing reports that alien patrol routes have been completely mapped. We can predict their movements 6 hours in advance. Moscow confirms that human forces now control all major subway systems in the city. Kim nodded with satisfaction. The aliens had wanted to use darkness as a weapon against humanity. Instead, humans had used it to create the largest coordinated resistance movement in galactic history. Her communications officer looked up from his console with excitement. Major, we're receiving a transmission from orbit. It's Colonel O, aboard the Veltharian flagship. O's voice crackled through the speakers from space. Underground Command, this is Phoenix Team. We have successfully captured the enemy command vessel. All senior alien officers are in custody, Kim smiled. Outstanding work, Colonel. What's your tactical assessment? The aliens are in complete panic. They're requesting immediate evacuation from Earth. Their psychological profiles of human behavior are being completely rewritten. O's voice carried a note of dark amusement. They're now classifying us as an apex predator species. Dr. Union, you intercepted the frantic alien communications from her laboratory. The confident military reports from weeks earlier had been replaced by desperate emergency transmissions. Fleet Command, this is Ground Base Alpha. We have lost contact with 70% of our patrol units. Enemy forces are using unknown stealth technology. Orbital Platform 9 requesting immediate assistance. Human infiltrators have seized control of primary systems. Warning to all ships. Earth's surface is overrun with shadow entities. Recommend immediate withdrawal. She laughed as she translated another message. Human creatures appear to be nocturnal predators with advanced pack hunting behavior. Previous classification as prey species was completely incorrect. Requesting tactical guidance for fighting apex predators. Captain Wu Jinlim led his team through another successful raid on a Veltharian supply depot. His soldiers moved with the patience and precision that had made human persistence hunters the most successful predators in Earth's evolutionary history. They had studied the alien guard rotations for days, mapping every sensor and security system. When they finally struck, it was with the calculated efficiency of wolves taking down prey. The depot's guards never saw the attack coming. Humans emerged from shadows that the aliens had assumed were empty, struck with devastating precision, and vanished back into darkness before reinforcements could respond. Another successful hunt, Lim reported as his team disappeared into the tunnel network beneath the facility. Above them, Veltharian emergency crews arrived to find nothing but destroyed supplies and the growing realization that they were not fighting a desperate resistance. They were being systematically hunted by creatures that had turned their own weapon against them. The darkness that was supposed to terrify humans had instead awakened, something far more dangerous than the aliens could have imagined. Earth's apex predators had remembered what they truly were. The final assault on the Veltharian mothership began at 0300 ship time, when the alien crew's circadian rhythms were at their lowest point. Commander Jae-Soon Choi floated in the vacuum of space beside his team, watching the massive vessel through his helmet display. The ship stretched 4 kilometers, its hull covered in bright navigation lights and observation windows. 2 human eyes adapted for hunting in darkness. It looked like a floating city, announcing its position to every predator in the galaxy. Breach points confirmed, whispered Sergeant Minjun Seo through the communication link. Hull cutting charges. are in position at sections 7, 12, and 19. Choi checked his tactical display. 3 separate teams were positioned around the mothership, ready to enter simultaneously from different angles. The aliens would expect an attack from one direction. They would never anticipate being hunted from all sides at once. All teams, execute breach in 10 seconds, he commanded. The shaped charges cut through the alien hull like hot knives through metal. Atmosphere vented into space as human soldiers poured through the openings into the ship's interior corridors. What they found inside was exactly what they expected. Brightly lit passages filled with panicking aliens who had no idea how to fight. In confined spaces, the Veltharians stumbled over each other, their bioluminescent patches flashing with terror as armed humans emerged from every shadow. Choi's team moved through the ship's main corridor like ghosts. The aliens had motion sensors and security cameras, but these devices were designed to work in well-lit environments. In the flickering emergency lighting that followed the hull breach, human soldiers became nearly invisible. Bridge located, reported Lieutenant Eugen Park from the forward assault team. Heavy resistance expected. Negative, Choi replied as he studied the ship's layout on his tactical computer. We take the indirect approach. Instead of charging down the main corridor toward the bridge, Choi led his team through the ship's maintenance areas. Like every Veltharian vessel, the mothership had extensive networks of service tunnels and utility passages that remained unguarded, because no civilized species would use them for military operations. The humans crawled through ventilation shafts, emergency access ways, and technical compartments that the aliens considered too dark and cramped for normal use. Within 20 minutes, they had positioned themselves directly below the bridge. Admiral Kithmal stood at his command station, frantically ordering his crew to repel the human boarders. His tactical display showed enemy contacts throughout the ship, but they kept disappearing and reappearing in impossible locations. How are they moving so quickly? He demanded. Our sensors show them in engineering, but seconds later they appear in the armory. His security chief's mandibles clicked nervously. Sir, we believe they are using the maintenance passages, areas we do not normally patrol. Impossible, the Admiral snapped. No intelligent species would crawl through such confined spaces. His answer came when ceiling panels began falling around him. Human soldiers dropped from above like deadly rain, landing silently on the bridge deck with weapons ready. Choi emerged from a ventilation grate directly behind the Admiral's chair. His rifle was aimed at Kithmal's primary heart, before the alien even realized death had entered his command center. Surrender, Choi said quietly in the alien's own language, and your crew lives. The Admiral's 4 eyes stared at the human soldier in shock. This is impossible. You are primitive creatures. How did you penetrate our defenses? Simple, Choi replied. You gave us darkness. We used it. Across the solar system, similar scenes played out as human forces completed their conquest of the Veltharian fleet. Ships that had seemed impregnable were taken from within by soldiers who moved through spaces their enemies never guarded. 6 months later, Earth maintained its artificial eclipse by choice. The orbital platforms that had been meant to terrorize humanity now served as permanent shields, creating a world where darkness was the natural state. Underground cities flourished beneath the surface. Massive tunnel networks connected continents, creating a global civilization that existed entirely in shadow. But this was not a society of refugees hiding from the light. This was a culture of apex predators who had finally claimed their natural environment. Fleet. Admiral Min Jae Yang stood on the bridge of humanity's first deep space dreadnought as it moved through the absolute darkness between star systems. His ship was completely black, invisible against the cosmic void, carrying enough firepower to destroy entire fleets. Navigation reports, we are approaching the Kepler system, his tactical officer announced. Long-range sensors detect Veltharian raiders attacking the Zenthari colony. Yang smiled coldly. The Xanthari were a peaceful species that had no defenses against Veltharian psychological warfare, but they had sent a distress call to Earth, requesting assistance from the humans who had defeated the galaxy's most feared predators. "Take us," Yang ordered. Silent running, no external lights. His ship moved through space like a hunting shark, invisible and deadly. The Veltharians attacking the colony had no idea that death was approaching from the darkness they feared most. Dr. Yunyang finished updating humanity's entry in the Galactic Species database from her laboratory on the dark side of the moon. The new classification read, Homo sapiens, apex predator species. Tactical note: under no circumstances should darkness be used as psychological warfare against this species. They consider shadows an invitation to hunt. The final transmission from the defeated Veltharian collective echoed across 40 star systems. Warning to all civilized species. The humans have claimed the dark places between worlds. They are no longer afraid of shadows. They have become the shadows. Maintain adequate lighting when traveling through their territory. But in the deep void where no light could reach, human ships moved like silent death, protecting the galaxy from predators who had forgotten that in the darkness, humanity was the apex predator that nothing could escape. The hunt would continue forever.